For nearly 40 years, we've watched the predator hunt us. We've seen it stalk Arnold Schwarzenegger through the jungle, battle Danny Glover in the alleys of Los Angeles, and tear through colonial marines. But what if, for once, the hunter wasn't the villain? What if the predator was the hero? That's the question director Dan Trachtenberg asked with his 2025 film Predator: Badlands. And the answer might just surprise you. Tonight, I'm giving you a complete recap, the full story, my honest opinion, and my final rating. Let's begin. Predator. Badlands was released exclusively in theaters on November 7, 2025, and became the most successful launch in the franchise's history with an 18 million global opening weekend and 18 million global opening weekend and 184.6 million worldwide. The film is directed by Dan Trachtenberg, the man who brilliantly revitalized the franchise with Prey in 2022. The screenplay was written by Patrick Azon from a story by Trachtenberg and Azon. With a budget of $105 million, this is the 7th installment in the Predator franchise and the first live-action film to feature a Yautja as the protagonist. The runtime is 107 minutes. The cast of Predator. Badlands may be small, but it's unforgettable. Demetrius Schuster-Koloamatangi stars as Dek, a young Yautja considered the runt of his clan. But that's not all, he also voices Dek's father and plays a second role as Nyohor. Elle Fanning performs double duty as Thia and her cold-eyed twin Tesser, two synthetics sent to the deadly planet on a secret mission. Rohinal Nyran voices Bud, a strange frog-like creature who becomes one of the film's most unexpectedly endearing characters. Ruben de Jong and Mike Hommick round out the cast in supporting roles. Part 1, The Weak Link. The film opens on Yautja Prime, their homeworld of the Predators. We're introduced to Dek, a young warrior whom his clan considers a runt, too small, too weak, a disappointment who will only damage the bloodline. Dek's father, the clan's brutal leader, orders Dek's older brother to execute him. But his brother refuses. Instead, he helps Dek escape. The cost is immediate and horrific. The father decapitates his own son in front of Dek. As Dek watches his brother's body fall to the ground, his father delivers a final command: redeem yourself by killing the unkillable, or never return. Dek's target. The Kalisk, a legendary, supposedly invincible apex predator that stalks the most dangerous planet in the galaxy, a world called Jenna. Dek crash lands on Jenna, and immediately realizes why this world has a reputation. Every plant, every tree, every creature is trying to kill you. The planet is a nightmare of hostile flora and fauna. But Dek is not alone. Deep in the jungle, he encounters Thia, a chatty, quirky android created by the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, yes, the same corporation from the Alien films. Thia is not a combat model. She's a synthetic who seems almost human. She's talkative, curious, and surprisingly funny. She's been separated from her twin, Tesser, and is desperately searching for her and her severed lower half. Despite Dek's initial hostility, Thia doesn't give up. She follows him, helps him, talks at him. And slowly, the imposing, silent predator and the chatty android form an unlikely bond, an odd couple dynamic that drives the heart of the film. But Thia has a secret. She's not just lost. She's part of a Weyland-Yutani mission to capture the Kalisk for the corporation's nefarious research purposes. On their journey, Dek and Thia stumble upon a strange, cute, pug-like little creature that follows them around. They name it Bud. It's small, it's clumsy, it squeaks, and it immediately steals every scene it's in. But here's the twist that Dek doesn't see coming. Bud is a baby Kalisk. The terrifying, legendary, supposedly unkillable monster that Dek was sent to hunt is nothing more than an infant, curious, playful, and completely harmless. This revelation changes everything. Dek can't kill a baby. The code of the Yautja demands trophies, but even Dek has lines he won't cross. And so, instead of hunting the Kalisk, he protects it. This choice, to reject his father's brutal code, becomes the turning point of the entire film. Dek's mission is interrupted when Thia's twin, Tesser, arrives on Jenna with a squad of Weyland-Yutani androids. This is where Thia's secret is exposed. She was always part of the mission to capture the Kalisk. Her friendship with Dek was never supposed to happen. Tessa and the corporate androids capture Dek, take their baby Kalisk Bud hostage, and prepare to leave. But Thia makes a choice. She's not just a cold, obedient corporate synthetic anymore. Somehow, in her time with Dek, she's developed something that looks suspiciously like a soul. She prioritizes Dek's life over the company's aims and turns against her own sister. The resulting battle is brutal and creative. Hybrid monsters are unleashed, androids fight androids, and Dek finally proves that he can be a warrior on his own terms. In the chaos, Thia frees Bud, and the three, Dek, Thia, and the baby Kalisk, survive together. With Bud in tow and Thia by his side, Dek returns to Yautja Prime. But he doesn't return as a supplicant. He returns as a rebel. He confronts his father, not for a hunt, not for a trophy, but for justice. In a brutal, emotional duel, Dek kills his father, the man who murdered his own son, who demanded violence as the only currency of worth. With his father's blood still on his hands, Dek makes a declaration. He, Thia, and Bud are now their own clan. They will not live by the old rules. They will find their own way. It's a powerful, triumphant moment, a rejected son finally breaking free of a toxic father's shadow and rewriting the code of his people. Dek, Thia, and Bud stand together, ready to depart and begin their new lives as a found family. But just as they prepare to leave, a new Yautja spaceship touches down on the planet. Thia turns to Dek, confused, and asks, "Who is that?" Dek looks at the ship, then back at his companions. A single line escapes him. "My mother." The screen fades to black. This final twist is genius. We've spent the entire film dealing with a brutal father. But what does the mother want? Is she here to avenge her husband? To reclaim her son? Or maybe, and this is the really terrifying possibility, she's even worse than him. Director Dan Trachtenberg described the ending as ironic. It asks what else Dek might have to go through, and how much worse that could be in the hands of Mom. The film ends not with a period, but with a question mark. And that question mark could be the setup for one of the most intriguing sequels in franchise history. Predator. Badlands benefited from an extraordinarily talented creative team. The stunning cinematography was handled by Jeff Cutter. The score was jointly composed by Sarah Schachner and Benjamin Wolfish. The production design, led by Ra Vincent, brought both Yautja Prime and the deadly world of Jenner to vivid, terrifying life. What's particularly notable is that this film, despite its PG-13 rating, pushed the boundaries of franchise violence by focusing gore on aliens and synthetics rather than humans. The practical creature suits, combined with digital enhancements, created some of the most memorable monster designs in recent Predator history. Predator. Badlands received positive reviews from critics and an overwhelming response from audiences. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an 85% critic score based on certified reviews, earning the certified fresh label. But the real story is the audience score, an astonishing 96%, making it the highest audience-scored Predator movie in franchise history, outperforming even the original 1987 classic and the beloved Prey. On IMDb, the film sits at a solid 7.2 out of 10. Critics praised the fresh perspective of making a Predator the hero, the odd-couple chemistry between Dek and Thia, the stunning world-building, and the unexpectedly emotional core. Some longtime fans, however, were divided, arguing that the lighter, more adventurous tone and the PG-13 rating stripped away the terrifying horror that defined the original. So, what did I think of Predator? Badlands. I have to say, I was genuinely surprised. It is an action-packed amazing thrill ride from start to finish, plenty of good moments and some sad ones and some very shocking moments. The action sequences are outstanding and highly creative, and the sheer amount of creativity in terms of the environment is fantastic. But here's the thing, this is not your father's Predator film. This is not the gritty, terrifying survival horror of the 1987 original. This is something entirely new, a sci-fi adventure film with genuine heart, surprising humor, and a found family narrative that the franchise has never attempted before. For some fans, that will be a betrayal. For me, it was a breath of fresh air. You can only tell the same story so many times before it gets stale. Does Predator? Badlands have flaws? Absolutely. The tonal shift from horror to adventure is jarring. The PG-13 rating means the violence, while creative, never reaches the visceral impact of the original. And for purists who wanted another Prey, this is not that film. But what Badlands does, it does brilliantly. It takes a franchise that was starting to feel formulaic and asks a genuinely new question. What happens when the hunter chooses not to hunt? The answer is a film that is ambitious, heartfelt, and wildly entertaining. And that mid-credits scene, teasing Deck's mother, is one of the most exciting sequel setups I've seen in years. Given its bold reinvention of the franchise, its stunning visuals, the incredible chemistry between Demetrius Schuster-Koloamatangi and Elle Fanning, and that unforgettable ending, I give Predator Badlands a very solid 8 out of 10. It's not perfect, but it's bold, it's different, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. Highly recommended for anyone who loves sci-fi adventure, great characters, and a Predator movie that isn't afraid to break the rules. That's my full breakdown of Predator Badlands. What did you think? Does this new direction work for you, or did you miss the horror of the original Predator? And what are your theories about Deck's mother? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this recap, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss my next deep dive. I'll see you in the next video. Stay dangerous.